Welcome to Epic Elite Small Problem. I'm level 23 and I want to briefly go over some gear. The gear that I'm using is generally the same as it has been in other quest videos I've done on Voodoo for this level range, but there are three pieces of loot that I've recently crafted, so I thought I would go over those. One is this set of bracers here. It's got a colorless slot, which I have slotted up with Diamond of Intimidate plus 11 because I am a tank. And I've crafted onto that Dodge bonus 9, Spell Save 8, and Parrying 4. Parrying 4 is totally awesome, especially for a tank. You know, it's 4 stacking AC, plus 4 to all saves. I mean, that's really great for anybody. I mean, it's 4 stacking to all your saves, huge. And I do want to emphasize that the Spell Saves 8 does stack with like a regular resistance item. So like for example, my Terror Web Kite and Breastplate has resistance 6 on it. So that's plus 6 resistance bonus to Fortitude, Reflex, and Will saving throws. But the Spell Save 8 is 8 over and above that, specific to spells. The next item is another crafted ring, this time with a yellow slot that I've slotted up with a blindness immunity topaz. And here I have Radiance Lore 16, Sheltering 24, and Insightful Sheltering 11. Totally awesome. This has helped me consolidate, you know, the bracers too, consolidate some items. I was able to get rid of a lot of randomly generated items. I don't like to have a lot of different, you know, items in the bank that I'm swapping out every couple of levels. You know, I'm just going to wear these until like level 25-ish. You know, I'm going to wear this ring, for example, until I get my lantern ring at 26. This is good enough till then. And then I have this kukri crafted, and it's got a red slot, which I have just slotted up with a Meteoric Star Ruby just for fun. Now, why do I have a kukri? Because it looks cool. You gotta look good. I don't care about my melee damage. You know, 99% of my damage is from my bursting, so I really just wanted any old weapon with a slot. And so I have crafted onto that Radiance 111 and Insightful Radiance 55. And then the other slot, there wasn't anything exciting for me, so I just put Insightful Balance 8 in there, which actually is decent because, you know, again, I am a tank, so balance is really helpful. But I was able to chuck, you know, a level 20 and 22 randomly generated item that I was using, and I'm just going to use this until I get my Legendary Green Steel at 26. So those are my 3 new crafted items that I'm going to be using on Voodoo for low epic levels. I also want to talk about the Epic Destiny. I mentioned in a recent video that I was just going to, you know, finish up my last Marshall Epic Pass Live. Well, I capped and I didn't quite get to 6 million karma. This is about, you know, 450k short. I didn't want to grind that out. I wanted to Epic Reincarnate it right away, so I just took a Primal Pass Life. So I still have 1 Marshall Pass Life to go. I'll probably cap that out, you know, this life. I'm gonna stay capped for a while. You know, Night Revel is still going on, but I'm only gonna get a couple Epic Pass Lives out of it. I just don't have the initiative to grind as much as I did last year. And you know, as I mentioned when I did my tips video for that, it's a lot more of a grind this year to get an Epic Pass Life out of the event because, you know, that the cap is 30, and last year it was 28. There's a lot of extra challenges to run. So only 2 Epic Pass Lives out of the Night Revels event this year. So I'm in Shiradi Champion. Let's talk about that for a few minutes. This is a great Destiny for certain caster types. It's not a bad one for an Enlightened Spirit. Certainly if you're doing Martial, or excuse me, Primal leveling, Primal, and you're working toward Primal Epic Pass Lives, this is the Primal Destiny that you want to be in as an Enlightened Spirit. So I really should have picked up Audience with the Queen. In fact, I think I'm going to swap out this pointed dex. I don't need 2 points of dex. But let's talk about my choices here. For tier 1, there's not really a whole lot of exciting stuff there for me. I just picked up Healing Spring, which I barely even use, and then a pointed dex. Up to tier 2, Fey Form is great for, you know, any caster really. I mean, DR7 / Cold Iron, 15 universal spell power can even be a really valuable tier 2 twist. But you know, if you're running in Shiradi, that's something you definitely want to pick up if you are a caster. Prism stance is the stance you want to be in as a caster, as opposed to stay frosty or stay good. And when you have prism stance going, of course you want to pick up rainbow and double rainbow. Each of these have different effects or damage types that they can proc. And then rainbow and double rainbow is effects added to prism stance when it's active. And I'm going to explain how that works in a minute, because I want to talk about Shiradi casters. I do have In the Weeds. It gives me some dodge, and then if I'm standing still, it gives me some additional dodge, as well as Stand and Deliver, which gives me some additional bonuses to spell power if I'm standing still. So since I am a tank, and I like to be standing still when I'm fighting a raid boss, standing still when I'm in a large group of mobs. So, there's some benefit there. There's not really a whole lot of, when you're a caster, there's a lot in this Destiny that just is meaningless to you. Like when you're a caster, you don't care about Pin, you don't care about Odo's Whistler, you don't care about Whirling Wrists. They just don't do anything for you. Those are ranged things. Nerve Venom is awesome though for caster. It's 7% chance to paralyze living creatures for 6 seconds. And so the Audience with the Queen is a clicky that is based, the result, it does something random, something, well, usually beneficial. If you have a poor diplomacy check, which is charisma based, then it can actually be something bad. So you don't, have a poor diplomacy check, you don't want to take this. But in any event, I have decent charisma, so this should usually produce something pretty good. Like I said, I do need to pick that up instead of the pointed decks. I don't think I had it selected before because I'm really bad about using it, but it is a great thing to use for bosses. It's actually a great thing to get in the habit of using whenever it comes off cooldown, but especially for boss fights. So I want to briefly mention, Shiradi casters, like Sorks and Wizards, because I was having a conversation with a viewer recently, and I know some of you viewers out there are newer. Maybe you don't know what the heck a Shiradi caster is. This is a great Destiny for like a Sork or a Wizard for a certain play style, for a certain build that's called a Shiradi caster. And the way that works is like with the Prism Stance, Rainbow, Double Rainbow, Nerve Venom, and then here in the innate line you got 7% chance to deal 5d10 additional sonic damage, 7% chance to do 10d10 additional sonic damage, 7% chance to do 2d100 extra force damage. So there are all these different chances to proc effects. These are all separate calculations. Each have its own chance to proc. And when you're like a sorcerer, for example, or wizard, what you do is you're chucking magic missiles and chain missiles, and each casting you're shooting 10 and 5 and 10 missiles, right? And each one of those missiles has an independent chance to proc every one of those things. So the idea is that you're throwing all these missiles, you get all these chances to proc, and when you're throwing 10 missiles at a time, for example, like one of them is going to crit, at least one of them is going to probably proc something, and you're just getting all these extra procs, all these different effects, all these extra damage types. So it's a really powerful build. Voodoo was a Shiradi, what I would call a first generation Shiradi Sork before Warlock came along. I had a lot of fun with it for a couple months and I got bored of it. I'm not disparaging Shiradi casters. It's a very powerful, fun way to play if you're looking to knock out at Sork life or Wizard life, and you don't want to spend a lot of time, trying to figure out, or DC casting or trying to build up gear. It's a easy build to just jump into and to be very powerful. Some people get bored of Warlock after a couple months. I totally get that. In any event, Shiradi casters are very powerful and can be a lot of fun. So if you've never played a Shiradi caster before and you need to knock out a Sork life or a Wizard life, I would encourage you to look into that option. A lot of fun. So where are my twists? Empyrean Magic, that is a must twist for Enlightened Spirit. Sacred Ground, that's the healing proc that procs off of the Consecration, which does fire and good damage, and then of course I've got the Cocoon. Let's do the quest. So I've never done a quest video for this one. It's just one of the reasons why I want to do it. Actually, I haven't done any quest videos for the Carnival chain except for Under the Big Top. I don't run this chain a lot, and I haven't done this quest in a while. There's some Kate Moss over here. There's a lot of collectibles in here. Some of them are sort of off the beaten path. And this can be a tough quest. It's easy to get overwhelmed in here. There are quite a few things that can go wrong. And this is a base level 20 quest on Epic, which means the maximum level you can do it for Elite Bravery bonus is 23. And so you do this at 20, 21, 22, 23, it could be tough, especially you come here at 20, 21. Talk to Thumb. Don't pick up the pack here, because that's going to make them attack you, because they think you're stealing their stuff. Mushroom. So one of the things that can go wrong right away, there are a lot of stealthing mobs in here, panthers and wolves, and if you don't have a good spot, like me, you're going to run right by them if you don't know they're there, and you're just running along, and then all of a sudden, there's a yellow, orange, red dungeon, and you're like, what the heck? And then you turn around, and you got like an army of wild animals running after you. Like this. And if you get knocked down, it's really easy to get overwhelmed by these guys if they knock you down. There's some pretty powerful casters later on in the quest too, and some other mobs that can be problematic. Talk to Brawn Pits here. Follow him back to his little camp. Yes, this is the same Brawn Pits from Fall of Truth. And he's also in the Epic Giant Hold Slayer Zone. You gotta convince him to become an actor in the Livewood Theater. We're gonna skip all of it. It's got some great dialogue if you're into that. I encourage you to read it, but we're gonna skip that for this video. But yeah, once you do this quest, he becomes an actor in the Livewood Theater, where there's the reenactment performance of the Fall of Truth, and that was there before the raid was there, so it's kind of neat. So you got to convince him to become an actor, and then he sends you on some tasks to earn his trust. The first thing we got to do is bring him some water. So we're going to go back here to this watering hole. But you don't want to just grab the water right away. He tells you to appease the water spirits first. If you just grab the water right away, then 2 water elementals will spawn there. You got to fight them. Not a big deal, but just come up here. If you want to grab the lily petal, you can. Just click on the altar. Spirits come up, and they're like, you have our blessing. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go get some of that water now. Click there, grab the water, go back to Brawn Pits. So another thing that can go wrong here is that this, it's a little mazy. It can be confusing. It's easy to get separated or lost. And so if you're in a short group, and you're getting separated and people are running around grabbing a bunch of aggro, you get a red dungeon alert, one guy dies because this happens, he gets knocked down, eaten by wolves. Somebody else is over on the other part of the dungeon getting eaten by panthers, and you're dealing with a red dungeon alert, and before you know it, it's a total party wipe. So, not only can this be challenging to solo, but it can be short, if you're short-handed, it can be challenging too. I mean, even with a full group, if you're all a bunch of 20s and, a bunch of first lifers or something, people don't know the quest, it can be challenging. Okay, next task, bring in some rocks, which we're gonna get from killing the earth elementals over here. So this is another mob. You know, if you are prone to getting grabbed and your defenses are poor, like these guys can overwhelm you. It can happen. The rocks aren't something that you have to pick up. It just sort of, I don't know if that's something that actually goes in the inventory. No. It's just there's a counter up there. It's just 5 left. Like here, you know, you start running along here, you aggro a couple earth elementals. They, you know, you get grabbed, these spiders can mess you up. See, I just got grabbed. I'm not worried though. You can dance them if you want to. Earth elementals are good dancers. Used to be a stuck spot right here, but they covered it up with a rock. If you haven't played this quest in a long time, you may remember that. Nothing's hard with an enlightened spirit, right? Well, that's an exaggeration, but we'll just go with it for now. Okay, so I've got all that are required. Pick up these treasure bags because they're smoldering embers and those are used in crafting. Buy the stacks of 30. You can get additional rocks. I think it's just more XP. I don't even remember. Yep, 5,700. Okay, talk to bomb pits. You want to... Oh, is this not available yet? No, his stew is not available yet. There's another shrine if you need it though. Now we gotta pick up some firewood. Oh, here's what we're gonna do. Just for fun. Maybe you never did this. Maybe you didn't know about this. Because, you know, if you were new, you wouldn't know where to go for the firewood, so you could just be searching around for some firewood, and maybe you went this way. It's a reasonable scenario. It could happen. Stop acting like it couldn't. Right, and then you find yourself back at the Brothers Grimm camp. And you're like, give me some firewood, man. What's going on? But then you see, ask him about the firewood, and then he says it, then he could fling you up at the, up to the firewood, up to the cliffs. Boom! How can you not love getting chucked by a giant? Alright, firewood up on the cliffs. Every time you grab it, fire elemental spawns. You can dance them. Smoldering ember, yoink. extra firewood's worth? Another 5,700. Okay. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go back to Brawn Pits now. Lost no bearings. Where's Brawn Pits at? There he is. One of the things that you can do that's really helpful is you can give Brawn Pits fire resistance, which I'm going to do with this wand. Oops. Can't remember what other damage types. Why did that not go off? Oh, because he's not active yet. Alright. I'll wait until he's actually active. You can click on that to get jump. If you need it. If you have the jump spell, then you don't need it. And then we're going to go back up to the top. So here's another part. This is probably the toughest part, like especially if you're soloing and you're low level, is there's so many casters up here. It's crazy. Had to edit a minute or two of video out there. I had a wasp in the house I had to deal with. Alright, so we're going up here, and there are lots of tiefling casters. And one of the sort of tricks that you can do is, these casters won't spawn until you talk to Brawn Pits, after you collect all the firewood. So what you can do is you can send one person up here to the top, not here, but where I'm going, and have a person wait at Brawn Pits, and don't turn in the firewood until you get a person to the altar in the sky, or whatever it's called. So these casters can really easily overwhelm you. Again, if you're low level, you're soloing it, or you're doing it shorthanded. They like to cast dancing, they're going to stun you. There's all kinds of, they do all sorts of bad stuff to you. So, if I didn't say, towards the beginning of the video, like, I actually avoid soloing this quest when I'm low epics. I'm level 23 now, but like 2021, I don't typically try to solo that low level, because these casters are a giant pain in the butt, especially, depending on what tune you're on. There's no save for these dancing balls for Oda's Irresistible Dance. It is irresistible. You can avoid it with spell resistance. You can't save against it. So they start dancing you, they start stunning you, and then they start throwing, 500 point disintegrates at you. Before you know it, your level 20 ass is dead. But again, everything's easier on a warlock. So there's the altar there, and more tieflings are going to spawn when we get over there, and then the air elemental that spawns is going to be aggressive towards us until the tieflings are dead. And one of the things that could be frustrating is that air elemental can knock you off, and you get knocked off like in a random direction. You lose your bearings, and you get frustrated because you got to run back up. You get tossed into a bunch of mobs, giant pain in the butt. Yada yada yada. Try to stay away from that air elemental. Try to avoid using Chain Blast. Don't hit it. I'm using single target blast right now. Very strategically trying to avoid hitting the air elemental. Alright, that worked out just like I planned. Talk to him. Thank you. He gives you Feather Fall. You want to very quickly get back here to Brawn Pits, because things are about to get aggressive. Get your chest. Now you don't want to let Brawn Pits die, so you want to keep an eye on his health. He's got a lot of health, but you know, on Epic Elite, you definitely want to keep an eye on it. So here it's gonna be really helpful, like I was trying to do earlier, to cast Fire Resistance on him. I'm gonna do Cold 2 because I think they're doing Polar Ray. And I'm gonna do Sonic 2 because I think they're doing Sonic Blast. I'm gonna do Electricity 2 because I think they're doing some lightning spells. I'm not even sure, but it can't hurt. So you can, you know, if you're having a problem with him taking damage, you're having a problem getting overwhelmed or whatever, you could tell him to stand still. And I think that you can, you know, move ahead and clear mobs out, and then bring them forward a little bit. I actually can't remember if like he triggers the mobs or if it's you that triggers the mobs. Check his health. Okay, he's looking good. He can heal himself somewhat. So I'm doing Chain Shape now because, you know, it's going to bounce off and hit all the different targets and then grabbing their aggro towards me instead of, you know, if I was trying to do Burst, then I'm not going to be able to hit them all at once. Again, because I want to make sure I steer, if as fast as possible, steer the aggro of these mobs away from Brawn Pits and onto me. Don't need Brawn Pits taking damage. You don't want to get this far and then fail the quest because Brawn Pits died. You don't want to get too far ahead because... So, I'm still not sure if Brawn Pits spawned those or if I spawned them and just didn't notice them. But you definitely don't want to get too far ahead and then, you know, have Brawn Pit, he's fighting all this stuff and you forgot about him, you assumed he was following you, and then bam, he's dead. Don't you just love escort quests? Brawn Pit's still looking good. And we're taking him back to the Grim camp. Oops. Fritz yells at his nephews. And he gets some holiday presents. And now you just take him back to the start. And you get ambushed. Dance Revolution. What did I tell you? Easy to get overwhelmed. Can be challenging to solo. I said all these things at the start. And you didn't believe me. See, if I had lesser hit points right there, I'd have been dead. Or lesser MRR. I guess I could have used my harbor pin to get out of it, but you know, you only get one use of that every 5 minutes. And this ambush, like this ambush too, this final ambush here, like this can be pretty intense. You can dance a messenger. I think I'm gonna switch to bursting here. They're getting paralyzed by the nerve venom, which is pretty awesome. This group can be more serious, you know, if you got several people with you. If it's fully scaled, you know, and you got some squishies with you, it's gonna turn into a mess. Seen it happen. And then you can be the hero that saves it. And stuff can keep spawning too. It'll keep coming from like over the hill there. Well, that's it. You just bring Braum Pits over here and you finish the freaking quest. Boom! 74 grand. I was getting bravery bonus. I hadn't done it yet this life. It's one of the few quests that I hadn't done yet. It's pretty good XP. See that? What the heck is going on? Ah, that's weird that the barrier came down before the Spirit of the Heart. Maybe this is one of the mobs that can respawn. Well, that's it and that's all. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about my videos, you can respond on YouTube. If you have questions about the Voodoo Warlock build, you can respond in the Voodoo Warlock post in the Warlock forums. And if you're on Sarlona, you're welcome to send me a tell.